All right, we need to have a chat about DeepSeek and how they are really becoming a major player in the AI arms race or space race, right? So in America, AI companies compete with each other for customers. In China, one company is being chosen by the government, funded by the government, and installed inside the government all at the same time. It'll be interesting to see where this approach leads, that's for sure. Okay, so this came from Audit. DeepSeek just casually closed the biggest AI round in Chinese history, but most people in the West still don't get it. This isn't a normal setup. The Chinese government is essentially building DeepSeek into the AI company that runs the country. All right, so why does this matter in relation to the conscious stack, right, which is what our community works with? So if you're not familiar with the conscious stack, this is essentially it. It is an intentionally designed stack using geometric constraints. We typically use a 1:3:5 ratio science to it, but this particular structure helps keep things not only intact, but also helps reveal answers when you have. It's based on Miller's law, which states that the human mind can only hold up to 7 things at a time, plus or minus two. So you can see here, plus two, you get 9 slots. And by getting members of our community to start applying this in their day to day lives, starting, of course, with their digital stacks. It helps with cognition and cognitive management when dealing with the onslaught of new tools, new AI models, etc. So, this is my personal core stack, right? And the whole idea and challenge is to keep stack and then try to keep to it for at least 30 days, right? So you might find that these apps around throughout those 30 days, but ideally they keep to this sort of structure. Now, where does DeepSeek come into play? So if we go back to this news item, right? The Chinese government is seriously backing DeepSeek, which means it's going to have a lot of capabilities, and which is essentially what you want from an AI model. And just take a look at some of these stats, right? DeepSeek pricing, okay? It just keeps getting cheaper and cheaper, something that the Chinese are very good at doing. Whereas in the West, pricing and cost constraints are becoming an issue. So the West is essentially trying to get people to pay more and more for the models. But at the same time, there are these open source models that are doing almost or near the same level of things for cheaper. And in this particular game that a lot of these companies, infrastructure companies, are playing, it is going to be very difficult, I feel, for these large AI companies to keep trying to raise the prices when essentially the game is all about how cheap you can get things to be stable enough as infrastructure for the future. And so what we see here now is, as you can see, people are starting to put DeepSeek to the test against, say, OpenAI, Western models, right? GPT 5.5. So a lot of folks are talking about how the DeepSeek models, yes, they're cheaper, but the quality is not as good, and they produce more tokens. But the thing is, for the majority, will they care, right? These sort of things might matter more for, say, people in the West who can afford it, right? Whereas a majority of tasks that AI can utilize or be used by every person, it's going to be very sort of laborious, monotonous tasks that are going to be requested. And so having DeepSeek V4 Pro as an option, I think, is going to be a better play. Okay, coming back to the stack, where does DeepSeek fall into this? So for when it comes to models, right, I actually had been keeping to a Google vendor ecosystem in my stack for, I would say, the last 3 months. And it's only recently that I switched out, as you can see here, anti-gravity. And the reason for that is that anti-gravity, it was doing good while it was in its city phase, right? So they had a 50% off deal. But as soon as that 50% off deal finished, right, it was hard to justify the price. Knowing that there are comparable models coming out from the ecosystem and having, of course, your vendor locked in benefits, but there are also some costs to that, especially while the AI space and all the vendors are still figuring out what they are doing, right? Or who's going to come out on top for which domain. And so I recently switched to Cursor. And it's been interesting because Cursor allows for more models. In Google Anti-Gravity, all I could use was Google's models and A few of Claude's models were rate limited because it's not Claude code, right? It's not Anthropic's tool that I'm leveling. There's also been some, you can see limit placed on all the models in different harnesses. And so Cursor, though, they have, I used to use it past, but I got off it. And then recently I heard that SpaceX has a deal with it. So if you look here, SpaceX secures option to buy AI startup Cursor for $60 billion or partner for $10 billion. So it's an option. It's not finalized yet, but I think it is coming. And this is a pretty big deal. And so for me, DeepSeek is going to come in or slot in this area where my LLMs are and Notion. Okay. So this is what I also thought was super interesting. All right. So in Notion, about 18 hours ago, I saw that DeepSeek had been added to AI, right? Most people don't even realize this, but with Notion AI, you can select multiple models. And I think for the average person, this is going to be more useful than what we're currently seeing with, say, Anthropic and OpenAI, which is they're trying to pull everybody into their harnesses. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing long term because it's better if they stay at the infrastructure layer, continue to improve the models, and then be something that other people build on top of. But what's happening, I think, is that they're trying to keep themselves relevant and profitable so that people use their stuff more by enticing folks right into their ecosystem with their own products. And I think Notion is doing a good job of essentially keeping true to its customers, keeping its own harness, and not just being vendor locked in a single model. Because in the corner, you can see here, when you go to select, you got Sonnet, Opus, Gemini, GPT, K2.6, and DeepSeek V4 Pro. So coming back to the stack, right, we essentially have Notion where DeepSeek can come in under, which doesn't necessarily impact my conscious thoughts or focus and attention around where to place it. It's just going to go into Notion. And this is how I help people choose their apps, especially at this point in time in the AI race. You want to choose a solution or a provider that is going to incorporate these new models that come out more and more. I think everybody can choose their own thing, but I think pulling everything into, say, call it desktop or ChatGPT, Codex, right? I don't know to be a good thing down the line. So with Deep, see what it actually does in Notion. All right, so this is inside my Notion, and notice I have the options here. I'm going to go to DeepSeek V4 Pro. I'm going to ask something. Okay, let's have a look at silica and how silica um, is replicated in a seemingly core. Okay, so I'll let that prepare. All right, and here you go. Fascinating. So this is what I like about Notion. It is using memory and context in my Notion to give me these answers. Fascinating. So you can see it cited some stuff that I have inside my Notion already. Fascinating. Okay. And these responses par with what I would get when using Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5, etc. Now, what I love about what Notion is doing is saying open models US hosted, right? Beta. So this is just to, I'm sure, to deal with the comment I have about where these models are being hosted. And this is directly relevant to what we are seeing on Twitter with the news around DeepSeek in general. And so I think the play here is at an infrastructure level, it actually is better for your model to be adopted by more people than it is essentially to be getting money at this infrastructure layer. So whatever China is doing, I think they are doing a good job of it. And we will see how this all plays out. But this is how DeepSeek is entering my stack, but without necessarily impacting anything that I am managing cognitively and consciously, right? DeepSeek can plug into my Notion, which doesn't ruin my experience, and I don't have to worry about getting the latest model or something of the sort. And then you're using Cursor, you might be using something like Open Router. And if you already have a router, then those new models will come in. Right, here's an example of this. This was for 2 3 weeks ago. So you don't need 4 AI subscriptions anymore. Go back. GLM 5.1 plus Kimi plus DeepSeek and $1 a month. Plug it into Cursor or Claude Code and build. This is a serious upgrade. But you see here, this was a year ago, right? Peter talking about DeepSeek then. So we're gonna see things just get better and better. And I gotta say, from a design perspective, Cursor is similar to Google Anti-Gravity. Last year I was in a for Claude Code, but I realized that what I think I actually like more of the interface from Google Anti-Gravity and other solutions. And then I left now because Google Anti-Gravity actually had a good multi-agent GUI, graphical user interface, set up for its agents. So we moved over to Google Anti-Gravity. And then as of May 12th, Claude Code now has agent view. Still inside the terminal, but it's moving towards a GUI type setup. Like there's a reason why things moved out of terminal. And I think we're kind of recycling things. I'm going to go through this again. So eventually, I suspect a lot of people, once they get all the coding stuff sorted and realize they don't have to stay in the terminal, they're going to move out of the terminal. I don't know when that'll be, but right now, because all the craze is around terminals and Cloud Code, etc., feeling like a builder or a programmer, this is where the attention is. But I think that's going to move out soon. And if you are interested in talking to others of like mind, fellow conscious technologists, you can go to consciousstack.com/community, click here, join the community, and you'll get an invite link. Join us. If you're coming in from, so you would probably already have a Substack. But this is where we are exploring more conscious ways for humans to use technology. And I think as AI proliferates, as the speed at which things come at us in the future is going to become important, we learn the skills. It's going to become important to discern, despite the speed and despite the latest tech wave. So check it out, consciousstack.com/community, and I'll see you on the other side.